Good morning. Today's Thursday, November 5th. It's Throwback Thursday and a White Cohort Day. All students, faculty, and staff, don't forget to order your lunch for next week before 8:45 a.m. today. Students, a quick survey has been sent to your SJJ Labs account to submit your information for the SJA text alerts. This is important as we get closer to winter weather to keep you up to date on delays and important information. The following college virtual visits will take place today: University of Maine at Fort Kent at 3 p.m. and Clemson University at 3:30 p.m. Math team will be meeting in Fuller Basement today from 3:30 to 4:30 p.m. Be there or be square rooted. Congratulations to the following field hockey players who are recognized with all Captain League honors. First team selection, Ella Sepatelli and Alexis Duranlo. Second team selection, Hannah Roberts and Emily Demers. And honorable mention selection, Hannah Angel and Taylor Farnsworth. Congratulations. And Mr. Camilio's joke of the week. This joke is about one of his favorite eras, the 60s. Why do hippies make the best accountants? Because they're raised in a counterculture. Yep. And a happy birthday today to Brianna McKinstry, Polly Courier, Mary McQueen, and Kevin Wan. Happy birthdays. And today we have varsity boys soccer semifinals, number 1 SJA versus number 5 Burlington at 2. Please release the team at 12:30. Have an excellent day.
Good morning, SJA. Lots of jokes this morning. I think the math team might be catching up to Mr. Camilio. It's really good to be with you all today. A late announcement from Mr. Zhao, just to give you a heads up. There is work being done here on ventilation in Colby. There are going to be some people going up and down this morning and walking on the roof, so please don't be alarmed by that. So I know that the last few days here have been something of a roller coaster, and I'm eager for us to take some deep breaths today. So when we're done with chapel today, as you talk about your Throwback Thursday outfits, which mostly look like dress-down outfits, but that's okay, please do take a few actual deep breaths. The fact is, there are things to be anxious about in the world, and most of us are feeling one or another species of anxiety today. As I said a week ago, anyone who tells you that there's nothing worrying them right now is probably just not sharing. Many of you are applying to college right now in the middle of everything, thinking about how you'll afford it, maybe, wondering how you'll make up for some of the things that you've missed during these abnormal times. Others of you might actually be beginning to worry about getting a job in a time when jobs are scarce. We have a pandemic that has fundamentally intruded on our daily lives here at the school from the start. But in the last few days, it's really come even closer and felt even more intrusive. It's gone from a kind of abstract menace that we've been talking about from day one to one that we can see and feel. So I just want to put things into perspective a little bit for you today. Yesterday in the United States, we had the single highest case count since the beginning of the pandemic, over 100,000 cases. And yet there are still people everywhere who believe, who are not taking it seriously. I think for the most part, we here in Vermont are taking it seriously. I know for sure we are here at St. Johnsbury Academy. We're being sober about this threat while still being reasonable about our actual risk. I don't want to say only 27, but only 27 of those 100,000 cases yesterday were here in Vermont. Just, again, some perspective, almost 5,000 of them were in Florida. Yesterday, 56 people in Florida died from COVID-19. In Vermont, only 58 people, not only, but 58 people have died of COVID-19 since the beginning of the pandemic. The last one was on August 6th, and I'm knocking on wood furiously up here on my beautiful podium. I appreciate having heard from community members, and particularly some students, who have shared very cogent concerns about our decision to be in person today after finding out that we've had 2 positive cases in our community. I was very proud that the Department of Health felt and we agreed that we were safe to be here, given all of the variables and the very comprehensive information that we considered and they considered. You should feel proud as well. But you need also to understand, while we might not have anywhere near the number of cases that other parts of the country are seeing, there were 6,000 in Wisconsin yesterday. The fact is, our cases are increasing in the region and in our community. So, because we do see what's possible elsewhere, I want to emphasize that if you do choose to do what we've asked you not to do, to go to parties, or to gather in large groups without masks, or to ignore quarantine rules, you could be endangering our ability to be here. From the very start, we've said that our health here depends on the health of the community, and that is still true. So we need to be even more conscious and careful than we've ever been. That said, I know that none of us, is trying to sabotage anything or to hurt others. I know we're all so tired and that we need to have compassion for each other and not start rumors and not gossip. It doesn't help, it just hurts. So please be kind. Don't be self-righteous. Please just do the right things for yourselves and for each other and encourage your friends and family to do the same. Of course, we also have a presidential election that is still being decided. Mr. Eckhart was scheduled to speak this morning about the election results. I told him this morning that I wish he was doing that. I wish he could help us out. This is an election that's excruciatingly close and contentious, and that has laid bare some unavoidable facts about our country. It's not news that we find ourselves divided, rural and urban, suburban and small town, people with or without college degrees, people of different races and genders, rich and poor. If you're paying attention to the poll and survey data that's being produced constantly to try to help us understand who we are as a country, as a people, you'll see that the trippers and askers are using every possible way of divvying us up to try to make sense of and perhaps even to sharpen the ways we might disagree with each other. Those 3 or 4 of you who may have just heard a faint bell ring at the phrase trippers and askers will not be surprised that at this moment seems to call for some Walt Whitman. Trippers and askers, that phrase, comes from section 4 of the long rambling poem called Song of Myself, which sounds a little self-centered until you realize that in celebrating himself, Walt Whitman was also celebrating America. When he says, "I contain multitudes," he means that the poet can expand his voice to speak for everyone, that he can hear everyone and transcribe their voices for the rest of us. I know that some of you have been reading Walt Whitman in English class. I think you read I Hear America Singing, where Whitman is really listening to the CTE department. I hear America singing, the varied carols I hear, those of mechanics, each one singing as it should be, blithe and strong, the carpenter singing as he measures his plank or beam, the mason singing his as he makes ready for work or leaves off work. I'm not sure if you all are singing down there, but perhaps just in your hearts. I hope so. Anyway, Whitman would have said that you are America, and so is the farmer, and so is the dressmaker, and the mother, and so on, and so it is. Whitman, incidentally, was a huge fan of President Abraham Lincoln, not just as a president, but as a person. During the Civil War in the early 1860s, Whitman went to Washington, D.C. to work in a field hospital, and he saw some truly horrifying things while he was there. But he also, while he was in Washington, went over to talk to President Lincoln in the White House, because at that time, that was something you could do. You could just walk in and say hello. He liked Lincoln very much as a human being. He was gentle and quiet and humble. Whitman felt that what Lincoln was trying to do for America, to keep it together, to see its common purpose, to find its common future, and imagine it as a democratic ideal with liberty and justice for all, was what the American poet should also do. What he, as the embodiment of America, might be able to help do. So, in the short section of Song of Myself that I'm about to read here, Whitman complains a little about those things that he's often asked to talk about, the things that those trippers and askers, which you could call pollsters, suggest might define him and that he thinks are kind of mundane and irrelevant. Where he lives, which was New York City, incidentally, his personal background, how much money he makes, how he feels about current events, how he feels about the war, who he hangs out with, any number of superficial details about him. He suggests that those things are not really him. By extension, they are not really any of us, but that the me, myself, is something apart, something much less contentious or susceptible to being divvied up. The me, myself that we can sing about and that Whitman asked us to sing about is what connects us. So I'll leave you with this today as we witness and wait and try to keep from being overwhelmed by the fever of doubtful news and the forces that try to reduce us to demographics and define us shallowly and draw us into arguments. Trippers and askers surround me, people I meet, the effect upon me of my early life, or the ward and city I live in, or the nation, the latest dates, discoveries, inventions, societies, authors old and new, my dinner, dress, associates, looks, compliments, dues, the real or fancied indifference of some man or woman I love, the sickness of one of my folks or of myself, or ill-doing or loss, or lack of money, or depressions, or exaltations. Battles, the horrors of fratricidal war, the fever of doubtful news, the fitful events. These come to me days and nights and go from me again, but they are not the me myself. Apart from the pulling and hauling stands what I am, stands amused, complacent, compassionating, idle, unitary, looking with side-curved head, curious what will come next. Both in and out of the game, and watching and wondering at it. Backward I see in my own days, where I sweated through fog with linguists and contenders. I have no mocking, no arguments. I witness and wait. Take care of each other today, St. Johnsbury Academy. Please thank your teachers for all they do. Stop by and show off your throwback outfits. I know some of you have bonnets on. And remember, please, to take those deep breaths. Have a good day.